So Dana White goes back on his word to UFC fans that they would be moving out of the Apex as a new report essentially confirms that the UFC will be investing millions and millions of dollars into the Apex. Let's get started right away with the news report that Dana White himself commented on. The UFC Apex renovation set to redefine the future of combat sports, bullshit, whatever, in 2025 with $20 million expansion. This is the Fighters Only magazine is the people that put this out, and then Dana White comments under that, essentially confirming the story. Obviously, he's not saying it's wrong. So the quote is, "We're going to invest a lot of money in this place, and we got some pretty big announcements coming up in the next 6 months. So it all sort of makes sense what we're doing and why we're doing it." Is that right? Is that right? So that's Dana White now. Here's Dana White 8 months ago at the UFC St. Louis post-fight press conference, and he had a little bit different idea back
Do
then.
you think there'll be a time where the Apex shows are like maybe once a month, if that, or you'll use it more sparingly, or are you happy to have that?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I've been saying this for a long time. We got to get out of the Apex and start doing more
I was just saying it for a long time, guys. We got to get out of the Apex. Pretty clear, right?
events in all these different cities, and we're starting to do it. We're getting it done this year.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that right? Because first of all, we didn't get it done this year, really. I mean, we went to like China. That was like the only new place, really. And second of all, this was fucking 8 months ago. He said, "Oh, by the end of the year, I've been saying this for a long time. We gotta get out of the Apex, start doing more events in different cities." Yeah, that's great. And now here he is, $20 million expansion into the Apex. Um, I obviously this was not the first time that Dana has talked about this at this press conference, but it's hard to remember because when certain like now that the headline comes out that the UFC Apex has this renovation or whatever, everything else gets buried from the last times he was talking about how they need to get out of there. So this is something I found on this Sheerdog forum. This was back in November of 2022. A guy quoted saying, "Unless the world loses its mind again, we're going to get out of the Apex and start traveling, not just pay-per-views, but fight nights too." The guy says, "Sounds good until you find out the first event of 2023 is an Apex event, and there's another two in February. So out of 4 fight nights announced, 3 are the Apex." So this guy called it out in 2022. Okay, we've been dealing with this for over 2 years now. Well, like 4 years now, really. And again, this guy called it out back then in 2022, and it's come true now that Dana just fucking lies, man. They just lie because he literally
More
says,
events and all these. We got to get out of the Apex and start doing.
Yep.
Long time. We got to get out of the Apex. Well, I've been saying this for a long time.
Long time.
We got to get out of the Apex and start doing more events.
"Is that right?"
In all these different cities, and we're starting to do it. We're getting it done this year.
We're getting it done this year. Yeah, we're getting it done this year. Not we. First of all, we most certainly did not get it done this year. The only new like fight night place was, I'm pretty sure, China, as far as this year. So why? So why? We all know that it obviously costs a lot less for them. It costs a lot less in time and money to set up a fight night event in the Apex as opposed to in a live arena. The only thing they're missing out on, of course, is the live gate, the merchandise sales, the if they have like the if they sell like if they get money for the concessions or whatever. All of that stuff obviously is a part of hosting the live event, which is obviously offset again by the cost of having to rent out the place for the event. So again, we don't know. I guess we probably could look through. I could maybe that's a different video, looking through their financials and seeing maybe how much they make per an event. But we're gonna get to the financial part of it very soon because that's all that this comes down to is money. If you go to the UFC Apex main website, this is the homepage of their website here. It's all about renting out the space, and you can see there's a lot of different usage that they have for this. They show examples of other people using the facility. Tour our facility, look exceptional in 4K. So obviously, what they're doing here is they can build an in-house arena to have their own media, to have their own events, all this other stuff, as well as rent it out to the rest of Las Vegas during the rest of the time. So this $20 million renovation, I don't think it's going to be all UFC related. I think it's going to be a lot of production stuff so that they can rent out the facility, so that they have a bigger area in the facility. They're probably going to build more property in that area, I imagine, or build more like warehouses or whatever it may be. They're probably going to add on to that space or just move on to another space, but I doubt that's going to happen because they already have so much built into that space. But I think a lot of this money is going to go towards production stuff only. I'm sure they're going to add some more seats, I would imagine, but I don't think it's going to be something where you can publicly buy tickets for. I don't think you can now. I'm pretty sure it's all friends and family or like some local sale or whatever. I don't think you can just publicly go on and buy tickets to go to the Apex. I don't believe that's a thing. So if it is, please prove me wrong in the comments. But um, it just comes down to money. They're just trying to leverage it because they want to spend less on each event and make more on it just by they just get the broadcasting money, the whatever, all the sponsorship stuff that they would get if they go to an event minus all the hassle, the shipping, the logistics of having to deal with an actual live event. So I do get it, but it ruins it for the fucking fans because nobody likes the Apex. So TKO stock, who now owns WWE and UFC, they are up almost 80% this year, and almost half of their valuation going up $63 on $144 stock, which is obviously almost half in this 1 year. And if we take a closer look at their most recent earnings report, the biggest issue they have is their net income and their net profit margin is low. So obviously their revenue's up 50%. So the amount they're making is up 50%, but they're not being as profitable and they're not earning as much profit margin on that. 3.4% is relatively low on a profit margin. So that would really go to explain why they want to invest in this Apex model is because they can pretty much any revenue they make at the Apex is all going to be profit because it's all built-in costs already. They already paid for all of it. It's already a sunk cost in the facility. They don't have to rent it out every time. Plus, they get constant income only when they rent the place out. There's no the profit margin on renting the place out, a place that you already own, is a lot higher than having to go to some arena and deal with all the costs, the shipping, logistics, all this other stuff, the manpower, everything it required to make a live event happen. That's where they're losing a lot of this profit, and that's obviously what they're trying to do here with increasing only this income line and maybe not worrying about the total revenue. And that total revenue number, if they were worried about that, they want to do big live events. They want to have big gates and bring in a lot of money on the revenue side, even if it wasn't as profitable, if it wasn't even if there wasn't as much income from that revenue. I know you guys are stupid. I don't have to explain it like this, but that's what's happening here. Is the Apex for running for these fight nights is just pure income for them. It costs almost nothing to run, as opposed to they get more revenue. They get more of this top line revenue out of going to a live stadium, but then it's all the other costs. It's the logistics. It's the time. It's the manpower. People don't want to do these long ass seasons every year where they're constantly going to this live event to that live event, traveling to this city. It's a lot of manpower. It's a lot of logistics, and it's a lot easier and more profitable to just do it at the Apex. So that's what's happening here. It's unfortunate. That's what it's come to now in the UFC. Is it's strictly about money because they are owned by TKO. It is a publicly traded company now, so there's no like discretion. There's no like, oh, we'll sacrifice here to gain there. No, it's just strictly money for everything. They'll ruin it for the fans because here's the thing: if nobody, and we'll wrap it up here, if nobody watches the Apex events, it doesn't really fucking matter because it's not like they're not buying the tickets and going in person. Then the UFC knows, especially now that it's more rare almost to see them in person, especially in your given area, that people are more likely to go buy the tickets because it's less likely. And if they don't watch the Apex fights, who gives a fuck? They already got the sponsorship money. It doesn't cost them anything to run the event. They don't give a fuck. So that's kind of where we're at with it. I don't want to say it's a dying sport because it's certainly not a dying sport, but they're ruining it like the NFL and all these other big sports organizations have been ruined by just corporate greed and just not being able to do anything but increase your income and your fucking bottom lines and everything like that. So they're just gonna ruin it. Dana walks it back when he realizes he doesn't have the ball.
I've been saying this for a long time, but we got to get out of the Apex and start doing more events.
Yeah, we gotta get out of the Apex. And I truly believe that Dana White himself wants to, but it's not Dana White anymore. It's TKO Group, and he's only the president of the UFC, which is only one of many organizations they own and have to manage. So it doesn't really matter anymore. You could say the UFC sold out. They essentially did, but you gonna blame him? No, not really. You can't blame him for selling out, even though he's still a big part of it. But he doesn't get that final say, and that's exactly why this is happening. I don't know that Dana White specifically wants to do this, but also I'm sure it'll be a big part of their fucking slap thing now too, if they change the Apex, because they were already doing slap in the Apex. So I'm sure that's a big reason why too. So pretty much, bottom line, we'll end the fucking video here. They're renovating the UFC Apex. It's not going to be to any benefit of the UFC fighters or the fans in any way, shape, or form. It's going to benefit them and their bottom line for their production, for renting out the facility, and for doing other things there, like concerts, like slap fighting, like all this other bullshit. It's all for them, not for us. Fuck Dana White. Fuck the UFC. See you next time with more UFC content. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe. Fuck you, Dana. You little fucking red little gremlin of a ting. Peace.